I'm Amy Mitchell, Director of Faith International English Classes, a ministry of Faith Church on the north side of Indianapolis.
And I'm Anna Hannum, Administrator at Faith International English Classes, otherwise known as FIEC. And this is our 5th video in this little series, and we're going to call this one, What Could Possibly Go Wrong?
The short answer is everything.
International ministry is hard. Cross-cultural ministry is hard. But it's worth it. And so we actually want this to be an encouragement, not a discouragement. Learn from our mistakes and our pitfalls, and try not to learn from other people's mistakes. Let that be us. And we want you guys to get started on a good footing. And so here are some little quirks, trip-ups, pitfalls that we've fallen into, and we hope that you find this helpful.
Well, and I'd add that, you know, we've learned things over the past 15 years, but we haven't learned everything. And there's always something new that can be thrown at you. Every night of class is completely different, and we're always learning something new, always stepping into new cultural puddles and apologizing. So just as you do this, just understand that there will be hiccups, there will be roadblocks, and you apologize, you do your best to smooth out the communication, and you get to the other side stronger.
That's right. We're all fallen people. We are all sinners, but thankfully there is grace, and we just encourage you to have a lot of grace, cover everything with prayer, learn from your mistakes, and just move on and just keep plodding on. So I think the first thing we wanted to talk about was cross-cultural conflict.
Oh.
And how that can just add complexity.
Like when you have two women from one country and sit them at the same table and it turns out they're from warring tribes.
Yeah, like that. Mm-hmm. Or when you have the flags all out because you think you're putting on a nice, multicultural display in your gym area, and someone comes up and shouts at you that their flag is next to their enemy's flag, and how dare you?
Yeah. So these are places where, well, with the flag thing, you just apologize and say, oh, I'm so sorry, we will make a note of this and we're never doing it again.
But now when we put the flags out, we do it different.
There are notes. With the women from warring tribes, we kept them at the same table, and they were friends after a few weeks, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So
a few weeks later, it's like, oh, kiss, kiss, and
yeah,
and they're friends, and now they have a friend from a place that they didn't think they would ever have a friend from, mm-hmm. And it's really fun to see those connections made that might not otherwise be made. Okay, emergencies. What could go wrong in terms of medical, fire, weather? We encourage you to put together a plan for what emergency situations could happen and what you want to do in those situations. We have had a power outage that required us to work by candlelight. We have had students have very serious medical emergencies while in the building here and need some pretty serious medical care. We've had students who have been through lots of trauma, and so they don't respond to things like sirens and flashing lights the way that you might expect them to. So it's good to have plans in place that your entire staff know what to do in case of any kind of emergency. And we have our teachers do a fire drill with their adult students so that the students know what to do if there is a fire or a tornado. That's obviously a different procedure for a tornado. But think those things through and have action plans in place so that your students are well cared for while they are in your building and under your care.
If you have a children's program as well, make sure you're prepared back there too. Make sure you run fire drills with the kids. If it's the first time these kids have been separated from their parents, it's really traumatizing. They don't know if mom and dad is coming back. They don't have an experience with this to know what's going to happen. So there's always lots of tears, and kids will get sick. So just be ready to clean it up. Have the bleach and paper towels ready, have your systems in place, train your people well so that this doesn't surprise them and they know exactly what to do.
Another thing we do to make sure that everyone is safe all the time is to run background checks on all of our staff, whether they're working with adults or children. And our volunteers all have matching t-shirts so that people know who is a part of the program, who is a safe person to leave my child with, who are the teachers, and it just is an easy way for people to visually see who are the safe people in the building. One of our mottos, especially this last year, has been be flexible. And this has been something that we've tried to do throughout. So when we try something and it doesn't work, we sit down, we evaluate that, and we have no problem throwing stuff out. For example, we used to do a huge carnival in the summer to get people from the neighborhood to come meet us, see what was going on, register people for English class, and it was a crazy amount of work. We would just like be exhausted for a week afterwards. And we just counted the cost one day and said it's not worth it. It's not doing what we need it to do. We stopped doing it. We wrote a children's curriculum that used Bible stories, and it was a nice curriculum, but it didn't meet the kids' needs. It didn't meet them where they were. The vocabulary was too hard. It just didn't work. We threw it out and we started over. So be flexible. Be willing to say, I tried something, it was garbage, and I'm throwing it out, and I'm gonna try again. Own up to your mistakes and be like, I just didn't handle that well. I made a cultural error. I insulted this person and I didn't mean to. Be quick and ready with the apologies and the humility, and step into those situations with a lot of love and grace, and be ready to change, have a changeable heart, and just be ready to make changes and be flexible, move on.
Mm-hmm. Another place I see things go sideways is with different cultures' concepts of time. So in a Western context, time is money. We have a meeting set for this 15-minute slot, and it happens in that 15-minute slot, and it doesn't go over. But in other cultures, that comes off as extremely rude. So if I have like 15 minutes of quote-unquote business to conduct with an international, I blot out like an hour
or two,
so that go hungry, because they're probably going to feed you. They will definitely offer you tea or a banana milkshake, and a lot of Western minds would look at that as unredeemed time, but you would be surprised at what God can do with that, because it deepens the relationships, it deepens the ties, and if you go just a little ways towards the students in their culture, they really appreciate that. It shows that you really care, that you want to learn about their culture, that you see the value in their culture.
Yeah. I think another thing that we learned early on is to look for burnout, especially in our volunteers. People aren't getting paid to do this. They're just coming to volunteer their time. We tried having English class twice a week for a couple, 2-3 hours at a time, and the students got burnt out and the staff got burnt out really fast. So care for your students, but also care for your staff. Watch for burnout. Watch for things that are just too big of a struggle that it's just not worth it, and you're hurting people instead of doing good. Yeah.
So these are some of the things we've seen gone wrong. They're not all of them, and we'll see more things as the years progress. If you have a story, drop it in the comments, because we'd love to hear the stories of how things have gone sideways for you, and we can learn from one another. Ciao.